Untouchable, or Intouchable, as I think it is in French. So huge hit in France. And they want it to, I think they're thinking of it as a big awards contender. It's being sold as from the people that brought you The Artist. I mean, obviously the Weinstein Company are in the background. Based on a true story. Again, whenever you hear based on a true story, you do understand based on a true story means partly related to the truth in some vague way.
And the rest we've made up.
Yeah, so the story is there's a wealthy paraplegic looking for help. And he employs a streetwise young man who's got a criminal record who only went along to the interview in the first place in order to be able to be eligible for his benefit. What happens is that Driss, who's the young man, is seen as being, despite the fact he has no qualifications for the job of being a carer for somebody who needs, full-on care, he is the only person who doesn't pity the central character. In fact, one of the central characters said, you can't employ him. He's a man without pity. And they said, well, that's exactly the point. So the two of them put together, Driss and Philippe, and there's a sort of chalk and cheese pairing. One of them is from great wealth and, listens to classical music and goes to modern art galleries and invests in modern art. The other is from the streets and listens to disco music and, understands hand-to-mouth existence and has lived on both sides of the law. And, unsurprisingly, they discover some kind of bond, and between them, they each learn from the other. Now, the thing is, there are problems. As with most, movies based on true stories, the sense of artistic license looms very large. I mean, not least in the fact that I think in the original story, the character that Driss is based on is Algerian rather than Senegalese, meaning that the film's racial politics are perhaps slightly contrived. It's also lightweight in the way that something like Scent of a Woman is. There's none of the kind of the weight of Diving Bell and the Butterfly, for example, when you're dealing with with the medical condition. But what makes it work is that you have at the centre of it two really, really fine performances. Omar Sy as the Driss character and Francois Cluzet as Philippe, because he was so brilliant in Tell No One. And between the two of them, they somehow make the thing gel together. And it's one of those perfect examples of this. We're told that there is a real chemistry between the two real characters, and that they stayed in touch, for years and years afterwards, and that they've become very, very close, and they, you believe in the closeness between them. When you're watching the film of Untouchable, the reason that you buy into it is that you actually believe that closeness between the two performers, and that has to come down to the quality of the performances themselves. I mean, particularly Omar Sy, who works wonders with a role which, in other hands, could be somewhat caricatured, could play into stereotyping. He actually does it in a way in which all that stuff backs off, and you end up believing in the relationship between two characters, so much so, indeed, that you think, I bet at the end of the filming, those two actors were very good friends with each other. It's got that weird sense of you're watching the story and you know the story is based on fact, but you also know it's fiction, and you're very aware of the fictionalization of certain elements of it, but you believe in the relationship enough that you actually start believing that the two actors are friends as actors. It does that thing about, reality and fiction sort of bleed into each other. So it is very, very sort of, mid-range fare, high culture, low culture. There are plenty of laughs in it. I mean, a lot of it is, good sort of bawdy comedy, rather well played. But at the heart of it, it's the convincingness of the two performances that makes it work and lifts it above everything. I don't think it's anything like On a Level with the Artist. It's not going to have that kind of success. But it is, and again, as we've discussed a couple of times already, it has that sort of mawkish sentimentality is there at the edges. But the central relationship is enough to keep that at bay.